It has long been established that Oda is a long-term planner for One Piece, and the story has continually twisted and turned, but then also brought back older elements that are going to prove to be very significant. While I think all of that is very important, there are some things that I think are still relevant, but some people have forgotten about. And in particular, I think there's one theory involving Trafalgar Law that is going to absolutely break the One Piece world when it comes out. Now, you have to understand that, for me, this theory kind of came about because I read the entire manga for over a couple months, and then I started rewatching the anime, at least for canon-only sections, to start getting, a better idea, as well as I'm trying to walk somebody through the series. Now, here's the big thing. I noticed this connection because of the time displacement of what I was watching versus what I was reading. Now, keep in mind something very important. Characters can be met halfway across the world and then ultimately swing back to an island that they're from or an island that they're attached to in some significant way. In this case, this theory revolves around Law. Now, we know a lot about Law. We know kind of his origin story of getting sick as a kid, about how he ended up with the Don Quixote pirates, all of this, his connection to the, forming the Heart Pirates, Corazon, all of that. But there's one interesting thing that got dropped in his origin that never really got elaborated on again. Law has two middle names. One is the D, that we already know is very important because it pops up repeatedly throughout the series, and many people speculated that it belongs to members who descend from the crew of the Dom Pirates. But then on the other hand, his middle name is Water. Water is such a weird middle name, especially because, at least in the translation that I read, he says that he was told never to tell anyone his middle name was Water. Why? That is such a weird thing, especially because D is arguably the more dangerous, although we do know several people who have that in their name, some who are even Marines, and it not like it instantly gets you executed. So, why then do we see that Law says he has to keep this name hidden and it might be important? And I think some of the answer might come in the style of tattoo that he has. Now, here's the thing. Law states that he comes from the North Blue, and we know this because the island that he got sick on, that he was raised on, all of that is in the North Blue. But here's the catch. Just because you say you're from an island doesn't mean you were born there. We've seen several instances of characters who were born in one place and then transported to another for various reasons, whether they were older or younger when that happened. Now, in my opinion, I think a tie-in might be Trafalgar's tattoos. What do I mean by that? Trafalgar's style of tattoo is obviously based around Corazon, but the way the tattoo is shaped is far different than most others we see. It's different than some of the other background pirate tattoos we'd see. It's different than like the Sun Pirate tattoos. It's very unique, very almost like vector lines kind of is how they're drawn. And the only other person that has tattoos like that is Iceberg from Water 7. Now here's my thinking. I think that Law's family, at least his family, might originally come from Water 7. And there's some evidence to support this. Like I said, I think the tattoos are the most important. We've seen multiple times where cultures will get transported in the world of One Piece. I think the most prominent is that it is stated that the old man who lived in Zoro's village that formed Wado Ichimane, the sword that he's had since he was a kid, was in fact a master swordsmith from Wano. That is a big deal and something that took years upon years, nearly the whole run of the series, to ever become relevant. Why I think that is also relevant is it's a good showcase of many examples where somebody's culture got transported. I don't think it's a coincidence that Law got these tattoos that look a very certain way, because I think that they're a very prominent style of tattoo from Water 7 and people who come from Water 7. The reason that I think that is significant is I think Law's family has some connection to it. And if you might be saying, well, what would be the point of that? I mean, it's not like Water 7's all that relevant anymore. I think there's two reasons it will be. One, it is still the place where we believe Pluto was made. And that's kind of important. Pluto is said to be this massively devastating weapon. I have no doubt that it will get unearthed by the end of the series. It will break out of Wano and it will be absolutely terrifying no matter who controls it. That having been said, I don't think the good guys are going to control it because I think the world government is going to end up seizing it. And why I think that is because I think that Water 7 is going to serve as the good guys' base. Hear me out on this. Towards the end of, Ennie's lobby wrapping up and then the Straw Hats getting their ship and stuff, we see that Iceberg has started commission plans for turning Water 7 into an actual floating island, a ship more than anything else. It wouldn't really surprise me if Iceberg had actually based these off of the Pluto plans that he had seen with Tom and Frankie. And the reason I think that that is important is I think that Water 7 may very well be the only ship that then, especially because of the danger it now is in because the world government is going to be pissed at it. Even if they left the Frankie family off, even if they left Galila off, they are never going to forgive the fact that Water 7 and a good portion of its residents served as Defiance. So it would not surprise me if Galila retrofit Water 7 with a lot of defenses and weapons and other advanced technology. We already know because of Frankie they possess more advanced technology than a lot of other islands. So it kind of comes down to the fact of, why do I think this is relevant? I think Law may have something specifically tied to Water 7, maybe even something specifically tied to Pluto, that's going to make him very relevant. Whether that is his DNA will be important for activation, as we have seen ancient technology can have much more advanced nature, like the giant robot with Dr. Vegapunk was studying, or some of the other technology we've run across. Whether that's going to amount to anything, I don't know, but I do think it presents an interesting connection. Have any of you ever noticed this connection? And if so, do you think it's going to be important in the end? Because I do. I think in the end, maybe Water 7 might serve as the final base for all allies. I mean, let's be honest, this series is probably going to span a lot of different areas, but in terms of a central base that I think all of Luffy's allies are going to gather, maybe even some of the rebel army, and even maybe defecting Marines towards the end of this series, because let's face it, once Emu comes out into the light, which he will they will once they realize what they have, I think a lot of Marines are not necessarily going to be good with actually becoming visibly part of his master plan for the world. All that being said, does that mean that Water 7 would make an ideal base for these allies who are going to resist that? Probably, and I think that might be what ends up happening. Particularly in regards to the fact that if the enemy really does get Pluto, I think Pluto is going to be a massive threat that maybe only Water 7 could take on in this particular instance. Maybe combined with Poseidon and whoever ends up with Uranus, because we still haven't seen that one yet. But go ahead and let me know what you think of this theory down below, and if you have any other ideas that you think would make it sound really interesting.